Hi, my name is Alexander. This is the first video about Next.js framework. In this video, we will convert our React.js project, which we created in a video React versus Angular, into Next.js project with a TypeScript. In the result, we will have three different implementations of the same user interface using Angular framework, React.js library, and Next.js framework plus TypeScript. In a video Angular 18 and NGRX, we created Angular project. In React versus Angular, we converted Angular project to React project. In the current video, Next.js plus TypeScript, we will convert React project to Next.js project with a TypeScript, put a business logic to the asynchronous function on the server side by splitting the JavaScript code between the server and the client, set up server-side and client-side debugging for our Next.js application in Visual Studio Code. In the next video, we will add authentication to our Next.js application. The GitHub references for the source code for the server-side and client-side applications are indicated in the video description. Next.js is open-source full-stack web development framework created by the company USL. It's built on top of the React library and provides a comprehensive suite of tools and features to simplify the process of building high-performance, production-ready web applications. React is JavaScript library, not a framework. Next.js is a framework for React, which is built upon React library. React doesn't support server-side rendering. Next.js is famous for server-side rendering and static site generation. Static site generation means the page is created once during the initial application build and then reused for every user request, making it extremely fast because it is cached. The web applications built using React are slow as compared to Next. The web applications built using Next are very fast. React helps in building the beautiful UI of a web application. With Next, we can build the entire web application. We will convert React application from the video React versus Angular to the Next.js 15 application with the same UI and functionality and React project created in the video. The server side will remain the same as in React versus Angular video. The application contains two components: products and department. Products component is used to select and show all products from the store and implement CRUD operations to read, create, update, and delete the products. Department component is used to select and show the products per department: cafeteria, computers, cars. To select the products from SQL Server database, we will use HTTP call to Web API application. Check that course policy includes React client URL, localhost 3000. Start server-side application. Copy port number to the service in the client-side application. We don't need to copy the port because the port number is the same in the client service. Start client-side application. This is how the start page of application looks like. The first page represents the navigation panel with the links to the components, where we will show the products lists and will use the CRUD operations. Using the link or buttons, we will load the appropriate component. Create a new Next.js application. Project's name Next.js-React-App. Leave all other options as default options. Go to Projects directory. check that application works. Application works. We have to install Axios HTTP client JavaScript library to make the requests to the .NET REST API to communicate with SQL Server database. To use drop-down list in our application, we have to install React Select package. Open Visual Studio Code. Copy folders Fetch Helper, Services, and Superstore from React project and paste it to our Next.js project under the App folder. Under the Superstore folder, we don't need the files layout.js and nopage.js. We will use layout.tsx file created by Next.js. Remove files layout.js and nopage.js. Rename the file extensions from JS to TSX. We have to apply cascading style sheets CSS to Next.js component. Fix lint errors after changing file types from JavaScript to Typescript. Apply Next.js routing. In Next.js, CSS can be applied using several methods, ranging from standard external style sheets and inline styles to more advanced techniques like CSS modules, preprocessors, and CSS and JS libraries. We will use CSS modules. This method helps prevent class name conflicts by automatically scoping class names locally to the component that imports the file. On the app folder, clean up the content of page.module.css file and copy CSS classes that we created in app.css file of React application to page.module.css file. Open Fetch Helper file in Visual Studio Code. We see that the code with the lint errors has red wavy underscores. If don't, make sure the ESLint extensions is installed. ESLint extension includes ESLint's recommended core rules. ESLint extension automatically uses these rules if it cannot find the rules in your configuration file. On the app directory, create folder types and add file containing products type. Import product type and fix all lints errors. Do the same in fetch service.tsx. No more remarks on the vertical scroll bar. In the department.tsx, remove clear state button because we don't use state management in this project. Change var to const or to let. We have error for the setState functions in useEffect. Calling setState synchronously within an effect can trigger cascading renders. Really, we don't have any issue here because we use empty array as a second argument in useEffect hook. That means that useEffect runs only once after the initial render. Import CSS module from page.module.css as a JavaScript object with the name styles. Now we can access to the specific class names as properties of that imported object and can apply them using the class name prop. In product.tsx we have two. Remove clear state button because we don't use state management in this project. Import required types. Add property type name to product init to match product's type. Put ptab parameters in a constant. Add export to functions declaration. Instead of var, apply const or let, and add types to parameters. As well, we used CSS module from page.module.css file and applied styles to product component using class name property. Add routing to our application. Next.js implements routing through the file system-based approach, where the structure of our project's folders and files directly define the accessible URL paths. Each folder in app directory represents a root segment that maps to the corresponding segment in the URL path. For example, the folders app, superstore, products maps to the /superstore/product URL. Roots become publicly accessible when a specific file is added to a folder. Next.js uses several special file conventions to define the UI and behavior for a root. The page.js or .gsx or .tsx is required to make the root segment publicly accessible and render unique UI for that root. It means that we have to change the name of our components department.tsx and products.tsx to a page.tsx. Moreover, our department component shows products per department conditionally, based on the URL path. Because in Next.js URL path is based on the directory structure, instead of one directory, department, that we used in React project, we have to add 3 directions for 3 departments: cafeteria, cars, computers. Remove departments directory. Under the application folder, we see page.tsx, it is a root page, and layout.tsx file. The layout file is used to define a layout in our Next.js application. A root layout is the most top layout in the root app directory. It is used to define the HTML and body tags and other globally shared UI. Because layout components wraps any other child components by using a children property, we can create here the same navigation panel that we use in React project. Clean up the code page.tsx component because our navigation panel will be in the layout component. In React routers, the first route has a pass / and renders the layout component. The layout component contains a table with link and buttons for navigation. To use the same layout in our Next.js application, copy HTML table element into the layout in Next.js application under the header tag. Remove all code above the function root layout. Import link component from next link and style object from page.module.css. Remove unnecessary code from root layout and add header element. Copy table tag containing navigation from React component and put it under the header tag of our Next.js application. Change text React to Next.js 16 plus Typescript. Apply format to link component in Next.js. The link component is a replacement for the standard HTML anchor tag for internal navigation within our Next.js application. href property specifies the destination path or URL. The content inside the link component becomes the clickable element. In modern Next.js versions 12.2 and above, it automatically renders the underlying anchor tag. To implement the link on button click, we have to wrap the button with link tags. To display the buttons in a single row with the equal spaces between the buttons, add a new class to the page.module.css file. And apply this class to td tag. Apply other CSS classes from page.module.css file. Start server-side and client-side applications. Press products link. We received an error and proposed solution. You are importing a component that needs use effect. This React hook only works in a client component. To fix, mark the file or its parent with the useClient directive. In Next.js, every page and component is pre-rendered on the server by default. Instead of relying on client-side JavaScript to render the entire page, which improves performance and search engine optimization, SEO. Server components, which is default, are rendered entirely on the server. They generate a special data format called React Server Component Payload, which is used to render the final HTML. Client component. Despite of their name, client components are also pre-rendered on the server to generate static HTML preview. This allows the initial page content to be visible even if JavaScript is disabled. To define a component as client component, you must place the useClient directive on the very top of the file. It signals to the Next.js and React bundles that component needs to be rendered in a browser. This is necessary for any code that relies on browser-specific APIs, user interaction, or client-side state. Because we use useEffect hook in every component to display the list of product after rendering the component, we have to add useClient on the top of the file of every component. Compile application. Click Products link. We received the list of products in SQL Server database. Click Computers Cars Cafeteria to get the products per department. Check CRUD operations. Get product with ID 14. Add new product. Product with ID 141 added to database. Update product. Product with ID 141 is updated. Try to add this product again. We received an error. Cannot insert the record with ID 141. Violation of primary key constraint. Delete product. The record with product ID 141 deleted. Try to delete the product that doesn't exist in database. We received error. Cannot delete the record with ID 141. The specified record doesn't exist. Try to update product that doesn't exist in database. Cannot update the record with ID 141. The specified record doesn't exist. Get product that doesn't exist. No data found. The application works as expected. In our application, every department component selects products from a SQL database and applies filter to select products for particular department. It is a simple logic, but when the logic is much more complicated, it is reasonable to apply this logic on the server side and return the result to the client side. For this, in Next.js, we can split JavaScript code between the server and the client. As an example, let's implement this logic. We apply department filters to an array of products on the server side and return the result to the client, a list of products. Create another service file, fetch service server.tsx, under the folder services. Move the function HTTP get products to the server side. Import Axios service and product type. Add additional parameter type ID representing department's type. Add directive use server to make sure that this code will be executed on the server side. Add product list array. Get products array from the SQL server and apply filter. Convert filtered product list into a promise object and return this promise object. In fetch service, import HTTP get products function from fetch service server. Add product list array. Add notification server is down. Get product list. Display product list. Start application. Press products link. In a terminal window, we received an error. Error fetching data. Error self-signed certificate at async HTTP get products. In Next.js error, self-signed certificate occurs because Node.js by default rejects connection to HTTPS servers using certificate not issued by the Trusted Certificate Authority, CA. The recommended approach is to properly install and trust the self-signed certificate on our operating system and configure Node.js to recognize it. But for demonstration purposes only, we will disable certificate validation for ongoing HTTPS requests made from Node.js by adding environment variable Node.tls reject unauthorized equals 0 in Next.js configuration. It is generally a bad practice and introduces security vulnerabilities. We use it here only as a temporary workaround in our scenario. Add log messages in fetchService.tsx and fetchServiceServer.tsx. Start application. Click Products link. Check console in a browser. On the client side, we don't see the message Fetch Service Server started. We only see the message Fetch Service started. Check terminal. In a terminal, we see the message Fetch Service Server started. This is a confirmation that the JavaScript code in Fetch Service file started on this client side, and JavaScript code in Fetch Service Server file started on the server side. This is exactly what we wanted to achieve. But the log messages appear twice. And this is because in Next.js and React 18 Plus, code executing twice is normal in development mode due to React strict mode, which intentionally mounts and unmounts components to detect side effects. Logs will appear twice in a browser console and terminal window, but only once in a production. Therefore, we don't have to put attention to this. In a development mode, we can fix it in several ways. The simplest but not recommended way it is to disable strict mode by adding a code to Next.config.js. React strict mode false. Now the code will be executed only once, and the log messages will appear only once as well. Start application. Press Products link. Fetch Service Started appeared only once in a browser console. Check terminal. Fetch Service Server Started appeared only once in a console. Remove this not recommended code from Next.config.js. Start application. Click Products link. Check Departments buttons. Check root operations. Application works as expected. Finally, let's speak how we can use debugger in Visual Studio Code to debug the client-side code and the server-side code. Open Visual Studio. Click Run and Debug button. Click Create a launch.json file. Select Web App Chrome. File created. Remove all content and replace it with the content from Next.js documentation. Go to Next.js org, select Docs, search for debugger, copy the content of the launch.json file. Insert it into our launch.json file. In launch.json, you can change browser. I prefer Google Chrome instead of Edge, so we have to change debug with Edge to debug with Chrome. Now under Next.js we have several options. Select Next.js Debug Full Stack. Now in Visual Studio Code we can debug client-side and server-side code in our application. Let's put a breakpoints in a client-side code. And in a server-side code. Press Run and Debug button. Press Start Debugging button. Application started, press Products link. Check that the breakpoint hit in our client-side JavaScript file. Continue. Remember that the code is executed twice in development mode, therefore we have to press Continue button twice. Now the breakpoint was reached on the server side. Continue. The breakpoint was reached on the client side. Continue. Remove all breakpoints. Press Ctrl-Shift-P. Select Remove all breakpoints. The breakpoints have been removed. In this project, we converted React project to Next.js project. Split JavaScript code between the client and the server to execute business logic on the server side. This reduces the amount of JavaScript code and data sent to the client, leading to faster page loads and better performance. Edit configuration for full-stack debugging in Visual Studio Code. That's all what I wanted to show you in this video. In the next video, we will add authentication to our Next.js application. If you are enjoying this content and would like to see more and support my channel, please feel free to like this video and hit the subscribe button. Thank you for watching, have a good day, and bye!